Hey guys, M13 here. Oops. Topic of this video is dog food. This is such a controversial thing, and I don't know why it is. Actually, I do know why it is. It's because the average human being is dumb. Like the average, like that's the norm. The norm for humans is stupid. All the doctors, scientists, teachers of the world, they're all like in the top 5%. All of them. Top 5%. 50% or more dumb. So, shit that should be really obvious to everyone isn't. Okay. Let's just sum it up right at the beginning of the video. Dog food is unhealthy for dogs. Dog food shouldn't be fed to dogs or any other animal. You know, and if you just spend like 2 seconds thinking about, and okay, first of all, I used to feed my dogs dog food. Does that mean I'm dumb? No, this means I never looked into it. I just thought, okay, this is food for dogs. It's in a bag. It says dog food on it. I'm going to buy it and give it to my dogs. You know what I mean? I never looked into it. I never researched it. And then I spent, a whole 10 minutes researching it, and I saw some questionable things. So then I spent an hour researching it, and then I talked to some experts who had raised literally 1,000 dogs each. And then I found veterinarians that were honest. And then the further you research, the further it backs it up what you say. And then I've had the odd person who like defends dog food, and then I'm like, do you got any data to back up what you're saying? And because I got a lot to back up what I'm saying. Actually, not as much as I should have, but we'll get into that later. And it's funny because the only data that people who support dog food can send you is studies that are literally on the dog food websites. There's not, if there's anything that exists beyond that, I've never seen it. Yeah. I don't know why this needs to be explained. I don't know why. Like, let's just sum it up in the easiest possible way for the 50% of people that are not the brightest. And I apologize if I sound condescending, but yeah, now if you look at the state of the world, you look at this, look at the people that we vote for, look at anything in existence, and it kind of supports the theory that most people are dumb. You know, look at what we voted to office each year, year after year after year. Look at the fact that look at the things that we aren't protesting. You know, like if everyone had a decent amount of intelligence, there'd be huge protests. Like things would be changed. You know, people wouldn't rest. Anyways, dog food. For example, I was arguing this morning with somebody on Facebook about dog food, and they responded with, "There is no proof that any one diet is better than any other one diet, and therefore, you know, diet is a personal matter, like for dogs, like it's each individual dog, it's different what their own nutritional needs are." Okay? And yes, I understand like the kind of concept there that different diets for different people. Sure, yeah, I agree with that. But in the context of dog food versus raw, saying every dog has its own nutritional needs and you can't generalize diet, is like saying a mother who feeds her year-old toddler exclusively chicken nuggets from McDonald's is not any better or worse than a mother who lives on a farm and only feeds her child fresh food ingredients. Why? Because every child's nutritional needs and diet is different than every other's. So there's no proof that feeding a toddler chicken nuggets for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day from McDonald's is any better or any worse than another mother feeding her child only high quality, fresh ingredients, fresh meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, that's the argument they're making. It's literally, and that is actually extreme. And if you think I'm exaggerating, use like an exaggerated example to try to prove a point. I'm not. That's literally, kibble is like chicken nuggets. In so many ways. It's chicken nuggets. What is it? It's like some meat, but it's a lot of filler. And the meat is very often rotten or spoiled. So what they do to make it non-poisonous is they like bleach it, and they add in, like, they run chemicals through it to kill any possible germs or bacteria or fungus that was probably there to begin with. They just, like, and then they use some other process to get rid of those chemicals, or most of them, so that it doesn't poison people. It's pretty much just, at some point it maybe was meat, but in the end process, it's there's so little left of what was originally meat that it's they're just barely able to say that there's meat in their chicken nuggets, and it's all like preservatives and chemicals to make it last longer, and added in flavors that aren't natural, so they're just like chemically added to give it some flavor and taste. And yeah, the end result tastes good because it's mostly just like, it's just a ball of what? Like sawdust with a bunch of added flavors to it so that it tastes good. And that's what a chicken nugget is. It's fake food with a bunch of chemicals and preservatives and stuff to give it flavor. And there might be some nutritional value that's artificially added after the fact, but that's basically what it is. And what's dog food? Well, just repeat everything I just say and change chicken nuggets for kibble or dog food. Dog food, yeah. They actually said, like, the way that dog food companies get their meat is that they only use what they can't sell to humans. If they can sell it to humans, it's not going to go in dog food. So they only use the meat that's like riddled with cancer, like it's like visible tumors on it, or meat that was at the bottom of the pile and they didn't get to it fast enough and it went rancid. It's rotten meat. It's got maggots on it. It smells bad. That goes to the dog food. They get throwaways from supermarkets. So supermarkets take their expired meat that they can't sell, rotten meat, and they throw it into bins and they ship it off the dog food companies so they can get some of their money back, some of their investment back. Pennies on the dollar, but it's something, right? And the crazy thing about this is supermarket meats, when added to dog food, you think somebody, they've actually said this, like, they don't take the time to remove the meat from the packaging. So the styrofoam and the plastic that the meat is packaged in gets also mixed into the dog food. How are they able to legally get away with that? It's real simple. There is, if you look on the side of a dog food bag, there's like a stamp, or like a fake stamp, like a label that says "not for human consumption," which means in America, for example, the FDA doesn't regulate it. The Food and Drug Administration has no authority over it to check if it's safe for consumption, because it says right on it, "not for human consumption." The same thing that you get on a packet of those balls that like keep shit dry. You know what I mean? When you open a pill bottle, there's a thing inside the pill bottle that keeps the pills dry, takes out the moisture in the air. And then on those packets, what does it say on? Not for human consumption. Do not eat. That's the same thing it says on dog food. So it's not, it doesn't have, dog food doesn't need to be regulated as a food product, because it states clearly on it that it isn't. So therefore, they can throw any and all the chemicals they want into it. Anything that'll save them money, the cheapest possible crap. whatever preservatives that they can't use in food anymore because they're cancerous. They can get those preservatives at a bargain, and they can use them in the dog food. It is the it's the chicken nugget of food. And then people feed this to their dogs for the same reason that I used to, because it's cheap, in quotation marks, and convenient. And it definitely is convenient, you know. And the fact that it's so convenient should maybe tip people off. The fact that you have a bag of what is supposed to be primarily meat. It's a bag of meat, right? Dogs eat meat. They're carnivores. And that, people argue that, but okay, if they're not carnivores, they're like 90% carnivores, okay? Maybe they if you want to call them an omnivore, fine, but like it's like 10% or much less that they need that isn't meat. Got a car on my ass. He saw that I had to move over. He saw that I had something coming up on my lane, and he was trying to close the gap between me and this blue vehicle. Got a lot of wind here. Hope you guys can hear me. So, now I got a scooter in me that's like wandering over both sides of the lane. I went to pass her on the left, and then she went left without warning. Yeah, I don't know. This is real. Like, like if you feed your dogs dog food right now, and you're being offended by what I say, first of all, just because someone says someone that you're doing is wrong doesn't mean you should be offended. Maybe it's wrong and you just didn't know, which is what I was doing with my first two dogs. My first two dogs ate dog food their entire lives. Both of them got cancer in their later years, and they were pretty elderly and feeble by the age of like 15. And a lot of you think, well, 15, that's a good age. It actually isn't. Dogs, on average, live about 20 years. Well, that's not right. I can Google it. Dogs on average live about 15 years. No. Dogs on dog food live on average 15 years. Dogs who are fed diets of actual meat and whatever other food products you want to give them live 20 years. They did a survey where they had like 1,000, I don't know if it was 1,000, 2,000 dogs or 500 plus 500. I remember the number 1,000. And I remember what I read, and I remember the results. And I'm good. I'm good with that. If you know me as a real person, I can read something 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and still remember the details if it interested me at the time. Anyways, this survey, I think I read it about 8 years ago, because it was about the same time that I changed my dog's diet over to, no, it would have been less. I think I'd already changed the diet, and I found the survey later on to back it up. So let's say 6 years ago. I'm stuck on numbers. I get stuck on numbers. I'm a little OCD when it comes to numbers. I don't like ever saying a number that's incorrect. I don't like lying in general, and numbers are an extra sensitive issue for me. If I always have to, I'll get stuck on a number, because if it's not perfectly correct, it bothers me. So roughly 6 years ago, see, now the word roughly bothers me, because I'm pretty sure it was about 6 years ago, so I don't like the fact that I said roughly when it's pretty close to that. Roughly could mean a much larger. Okay, let's just stop talking about 6. So, the study said, I remember the number 1,000, so it was either 1,000 dogs divided into two groups of 500, or more likely, it was 2 groups of 1,000 dogs each, for a total of 2,000. And what they did was they fed one group high quality, expensive dog food, and the other group was fed raw meat, a mixture of raw meats. And did they add in some vegetables here and there? Maybe, possibly, who cares? And the results were, the dogs that were fed raw meat lived on average 6 years longer. This is the equivalent difference of a human living 50 years or 75. You know, do you love your husband, your wife, your mother, your father? Okay. Would you prefer they ate only chicken nuggets and lived to be 50 years old, or would you prefer they ate healthy fruits, vegetables, meats and lived to be 75? Okay, take the exact same example, apply it to your dogs, and that's the difference between dog food and raw. Okay. One of the biggest, I had people on Facebook saying to me that I had a very, what was it, privileged attitude or entitled, or it was something along the lines of, I forget the wording, but it hinted that I was like wealthy and therefore I could feed my dogs raw because I was a wealthy person. Hate to break it to you, I'm not wealthy. This is the crazy thing that most people don't realize, or one of the crazy things. Feeding a dog a diet of raw is equal to or cheaper than feeding them dog food. It's about equal to feeding a dog cheap dog food, and it's cheaper than feeding a dog expensive dog food. How is this possible? I'll sum it up. I would feed my dog a chicken leg for breakfast, and dogs shouldn't eat 3 meals a day. They should eat 1 or possibly 2 meals a day. So I'd give my dog a chicken leg for breakfast and a chicken leg or a sausage or something else for dinner. A chicken leg, if you buy them bulk at Costco, a single chicken leg costs like, I don't know, 50 cents, roughly. So that means I'm spending about $1 a day on raw meats for my dog. That's about $30 a month. Expensive dog food. And that's just me. If you have multiple dogs, you can actually get like the larger amounts of chicken that you buy at a time, the cheaper it gets. I got a friend of mine who has over 100 dogs. He gets chicken legs delivered in barrels, like giant barrels from the factory. And he's paying probably, like 20 cents, 10 cents per leg. Well, it's not legs. He gets I think he gets chicken breasts, to be honest. I think it's just the breasts, but it's he gets a huge barrel. And then he seasons them and stuff with herbs and other things to give them extra vitamins and this and that. So his dogs are eating exceptionally well, and it's cheaper than dog food. So if you have a sanctuary, a no-kill dog sanctuary or this or that, and you're feeding your dogs dog food, you're literally wasting money and killing them. That's the crazy thing. People are how can I feed my dogs raw? I've got this many dogs. Well, all you need is to get the meat straight from the factory and freezers. You just get the meat delivered, you fill the freezers with it, you just take it out of the freezer the night before, let it thaw, then give it one chicken breast, 1 chicken leg. I guess for for elderly dogs, my 22-year-old dog was still eating, 22 or 23-year-old dog was still eating raw chicken with the bones at that age, 22, 23. One reason she was able to do that was because she had all of her teeth. People, if you've ever seen a dog who's lost its teeth, that's a dog that's been fed dog food. Dogs aren't supposed to eat dog food. Dogs that eat raw with the bones and everything don't lose their teeth, period. Not unless it's some weird medical gum condition, I guess. But a friend of mine, he has currently 150 dogs. He's raised over 1,000 dogs, and all of his dogs, above 95% of his dogs, 98% of his dogs, above that amount, all have all of their teeth the day they die of old age. Okay? Because they eat raw. All the time I see people with dogs like Chihuahuas and other little things, and they got no teeth and their tongue's hanging out sideways out of the mouth, and they're like, oh, it's an old dog. My dog is older than your dog by a lot. My dog was 20, 22, 23 when she passed, and she didn't pass of old age. She passed of running out and being hit by a car, which is, again, my fault. But I've always given my dogs a lot of freedom, so that's another topic. But the point is, when my dog died at 22 or 23 years old, it wasn't of old age. She still had another, I'd say, 6 months to a year left in her. So, you know, and she had all of her teeth. Anyways, this video's long enough considering the topic. And yeah, so please send this to a friend of yours that has. And if I can tell that a lot of the people that get like angry at me speaking this truth are projecting their guilt onto me because they feed their dog food, or maybe they had a dog that passed away in the past and they fed it dog food and they feel guilty about it, and they're trying to like and that so when they get an anger and then they put that anger onto me, I understand. I literally feel that same guilt for my first dog. My very first dog that I owned myself, or owned is a bad word, that I raised myself. Her name was Babao. I loved her like a daughter. I loved her so much. And she ate primarily dog food for her entire life. And looking back at it now, a lot of health issues that she had, I know now, are from the dog food. She used to protest against her food. Like, I would fill up her bowl with dog food, and then she would knock the bowl over, or she would pick up a floor mat, dunk the floor mat in her water bowl, and then cover the dog food with it. So she would take a wet rag and cover her dog food with it, and she would do that regularly, not once or twice. Like, that was, she wouldn't do it every day. She would do it like once a week, once every 2 weeks. Once in a while, she would just heartily protest the fact that I was giving her dog food. And I was like, well, this is what you're supposed to eat, dog. You know, so either eat it or eat nothing. And I wouldn't feed her for the day. And that's also healthy. Dogs should have a fast once a week. So like every Sunday or every whatever day of the week you want, you shouldn't feed your dogs at all. The dogs aren't meant to be eating as regularly as they are. Okay, so yeah. I'm out of the intersection area, so I'm gonna pull over and cut the video. Yeah, so again, don't feel guilty, just be informed. And if you get a dog in the future, or if you have a dog right now, it's not too late to make a change. Speaking of dogs, there's a beautiful one to my right. Hi, baby. Huh. My video stopped recording recently, but the mic's still going, so maybe I'll edit in some dog pictures or whatnot.